All right, guys, I hope you can see this. I'm not sure how well it's going to show up on the screen, but I'm going to leave the boxes up here on the board for you so that you can see what I'm working with, and hopefully you'll be able to tell from looking at the board what's going on. So this is game theory. Usually this is how the matrix is set up on a AP exam. I know on the PowerPoint the other day that Mr. Fotu gave you guys, there were like the triangles. Usually they're just set up side by side. So I want to do a brief review of how to do these. This is a simple one that we did on the PowerPoint the other day, and then I got two other examples for you before you go work on the practice sheets. So I'll kind of probably be in and out of the screen here as we're working. So here's the scenario. Game theory is based on a payoff matrix, and what we're trying to do is, in an oligopoly situation where there's two companies, we're trying to figure out which strategy works best for them. Almost always, you could do a bigger matrix than two. It becomes a lot more complex, so for the purpose of what we're doing, which is basically beginning economics, we're always going to work with a duopoly, which is two companies. And we're going to take a look at two different strategies they might employ. For example, for this one, we have Coke and we have Pepsi. All right, they could go with a high price strategy or they could go with a low price strategy. And so that's really all we're examining. All right, what's Coke going to do when Pepsi does this? Or what's Pepsi going to do when Coke does the other strategy? And so that's in essence what we're trying to do. Now, I also left on the board the different steps to how to calculate these, or how to figure out which strategy to use. But let's go over it right now. When you're looking at one of these matrices, all right, the first thing that you need to know is that the company or firm on the left, all right, all the numbers on the left of these boxes deal with that firm. So 12 and 15, 6 and 8, all the left numbers go with the firm on the left. All right, all the numbers on the right deal with the firm on top. So for Coke, the numbers we're looking at are 12 and 15, 6 and 8. Same numbers in this case, but these are Pepsi's numbers, those are Coke's numbers. All right, the other thing you need to know is when we calculate these, or when we figure out who has the advantage, when we're doing the one on the left, we're looking at columns. So we're going to compare 12 to 15, and we're going to compare 6 to 8. When we're looking at the top one, we're looking at rows. We're going to compare 12 to 15, 6 to 8. Or we're going that way when we're doing the one on the top. We're going this way when we're doing the one on the left. All right, that'll make maybe more sense in a second here as we work our way through a few of these. So here's basically what we're saying. We're going to look at Pepsi first, and we're going to say, what is Pepsi going to do? Are they going to charge a high price or a low price when Coke is charging a high price? So we're just looking at the left column first. All right, remember, the numbers on the left deal with Pepsi. So if Coke charges a high price and Pepsi goes with a high price, they'll make 12. If Coke charges a high price and Pepsi charges a low price, then Pepsi's going to end up making 15. So between these two numbers, Pepsi is going to want to make the higher number, which is 15. So in that case, Pepsi would go with a low price strategy. Now let's look at what happens if Coke goes with a low price strategy. If Coke goes with a low price strategy, what's Pepsi going to do? We have to compare the two numbers on the left. Coke's on low, we're ignoring this column. 6 or 8, we're going to go with 8 because 8 is a higher number than 6. So what do we have here? Well, no matter what Coke does, whether Coke has a high price or Coke has a low price, Pepsi is always going to go with a low price. So Pepsi has a dominant strategy. No matter what, they are going to go with a low price. All right, that's what a dominant strategy means. It means regardless of what the other firm does, you will always stick to the same strategy. Pepsi, it doesn't matter if Coke has a high price, they're going to go with a low price. If Coke has a low price, they're going to go with a low price. So no matter what Coke does, Pepsi is going with a low price strategy. That is their dominant strategy. All right? So now we have to look at Coke. Again, top of the matrix, we're going with the numbers on the right. Also, top of the matrix, we're going rows instead of columns. So we're going to look at these two and then those two. So if Pepsi has a high price strategy, we're going to ignore the bottom column, or the bottom row, I'm sorry, and just look at these two prices. Pepsi has a high price strategy. Is Coke going to go with a high price strategy or a low price strategy? Are they going to go with 12 or are they going to go with 15? The answer is they'll go with 15 because 15 is higher than 12. What if Pepsi goes with their low price strategy, which we said was their dominant strategy, but let's just say they do that. All right? Are we going to go with 6 or are we going to go with 8? We are going to go with 8. So, Coke. If Pepsi goes with a high price strategy, Coke goes with a low price strategy. If Pepsi goes with a low price strategy, Coke goes with a low price strategy. What's Coke's dominant strategy then? It is a low price strategy. Again, that only occurs if you go with the same strategy no matter what the other firm does. Some of the examples that we're going to be looking at, one or the other doesn't have a dominant strategy, and that's fine. It's just if one firm will do something no matter what, they have a dominant strategy. Now the last thing here is this Nash equilibrium. A Nash equilibrium basically means that a firm has no incentive to cheat. They will stay in that spot no matter what happens. Can there be a Nash equilibrium without a dominant strategy? Technically, yes. Usually you will see it if there's a dominant strategy, but not always. And so in this scenario, though, it's pretty clear. All right, both firms benefit down here by going with the low price strategy. There's no incentive for either firm to cheat at that point. So what are they going to do? They're going to go with a Nash equilibrium where both firms use a low price strategy. So we'll call that low-low. Now, the question came up the other day when Mr. Fauquier was speaking, why not go with 12 and 12? The reason is, even though 12 and 12 are higher than 8, there is an incentive to cheat here. Okay? If you cheat, you can squeeze out a few extra bucks. You can go from 12 to 15. All right? And you would knock your competitor down to a 6. All right? That sounds great. Except that eventually they're going to do the same thing, and you're going to end up down here anyway. This guy could go, again, could lower their price and go to 15, which would knock Pepsi down to 6. But then Pepsi's going to cut their price and they go to 8. Down here, there's no incentive to cheat. All right? If you try to go low price strategy, well, you're already at low price strategy, I'm sorry. If you try to go to the high price strategy, all you're going to do is shoot yourself in the foot and move yourself to a 6. You're actually going to lose money. All right? So there's no incentive to cheat down here. Up here, you could try to get more at the cost of the other firm. But down here, you can't do that. So both firms are going to stay at equilibrium in the bottom right corner. I don't know if that makes sense, but that is the way that it works. Now, let me show you one quick way that you could do it in an alternate method, in case this was kind of confusing to you, and I'm like, oh, I'll do the ones on the left and do the ones on the right, etc., etc. Just give me a second here. Okay. If you're having trouble, like remembering, well, I got to do these two, and then these two, and then those two, and then those two. All right. Here's an easy way to do it. Ones on the left, always make boxes around them. And that way, you know which ones you're comparing. Now, you can't just start drawing circles because there's boxes all over the place now. So now what you would do is you're going to compare the boxes and you're just going to put a star next to the one that is the winning choice. All right, and then you go and you put stars next to the ones that aren't boxed that have winning choices. You say, well, what difference does that make? That's just, if you can't remember to do the two columns in the left, then put a box around it. And then it'll be much easier for you to remember. I personally don't do that, but some people seem to think that it's a little bit easier if they have the boxes in place to remind them which ones they are looking at. All right, so I'm going to pause the video, or probably going to have to do a separate video because the way the camera is rolling. It's 12:15 in the morning at this point, so I'm just trying to get this stuff done as quickly as possible. I hope you guys will forgive me if any of it loses coherence. And we're going to scoot over to some other game theory examples.